Hello, I am Ada Pembroke. I am a writer, astrologer, and the founder of the Narrative Astrology Lab. And I am here today with the Narrative Astrology Lab's human designer in residence, Frances Young. Frances Young is amazing, and you are here for a treat. But I feel like I should give a disclaimer. Both of us have Mars in Gemini, fairly close to each other, actually. And currently, Jupiter is in Gemini. And our topic for today is breaking apart myths about Jupiter. So, this is probably going to get really spicy. So hide your toddlers and your crabby aunts. We're going to start by talking about Frances's Jupiter in Virgo, which in traditional astrology is debilitated. Frances, as you would imagine, though, has some pretty strong words about that.
Yes, I do. I love to throw everything on its head and just say, hang on, let's double check. What does this actually mean? Literally with anything in life, because I think I've always been the person that like questions, or if somebody tells me no, I go off in the other direction. Though a lot of people can resonate with that, but if you're like, yeah, that's me, toot my own horn, I'm also that vibe. So yeah.
Well, we both have strong Leo placements, so I guess we should give a disclaimer for that too. Yes.
Yeah. And we've had a beautiful discussion pre to where we are in this moment about Jupiter, about what Jupiter is doing right now. And Jupiter is in Gemini and it hasn't been here since 2012. There's going to be some stuff that goes down. We've already feeling some stuff that's going down. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to talk about Jupiter today, to debunk it
Yes.
and to be like, let's throw this on its head. And for the fact that this is one placement in my personal astrology chart that I haven't dove into enough to understand personally. So it's kind of like maybe a little self serving, but also to help someone else learn, and experience what it means to have Jupiter in Virgo. For me, I also have it in the third house, also related to Gemini. So I felt that would be full circle. My Jupiter happens to be in a stellium with my IC and my Venus. So
Amazing.
to lay a picture for folks, where do you want to start, Ada?
Well, I want to say, first of all, that I was so excited when you said that you wanted to talk about Jupiter because I feel like nobody understands Jupiter and nobody wants to admit that they don't understand Jupiter. And so it's ironic because Jupiter's whole thing is about taking up space. Like Jupiter is the only planet in the solar system, other than the sun, if you're counting the sun as a planet, that emits radiation, which means that Jupiter is trying really, 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 really hard to be a star. And it just hasn't quite gotten there yet. And yet, nobody knows what Jupiter is or what Jupiter means. When you get to Jupiter and when you're talking about the planets, everybody just kind of mumbles about good luck and excesses and taking up space. And then they just kind of scurry along to Saturn because Saturn is so much easier to understand because everybody understands what no means, even if they don't like it. And so
Yeah,
I feel like this is an opportunity to, not just uh, smash some myths, which, to be fair, there aren't many because people just kind of mumble and run away when Jupiter comes up. But also to, maybe give a little bit of sunshine back to this planet that gives us so much. So, do you want to talk about the idea of Jupiter being debilitated in Virgo and how that makes you feel and what it's like living with Jupiter in Virgo?
for sure. I'll start with the last piece. What is it like having Jupiter in Virgo? Virgo is the sign that also gets a bit of a bad rap with regards to, oh, they're too organized. Oh, they're too particular. Oh, they're too X of let's just use the word particular and giving it that emphasis on how I speak it. Anybody that has a Virgo placement, how large or small with regards to your energy and its prominence in your chart. Particular, like
Picky,
everyone
picky,
can
picky, picky,
resonate
picky,
with.
picky, picky.
Exactly. It's that moment. So, a planet that's about expansion and growth, and the moment you saying trying to be a star, but isn't really recognized for it, another like light bulb kind of went off in my brain in that Virgo is particular and picky as an essence. And so if you put expansion on that, there's the potential to get the detriment of, oh my God, this is way too particular. And I'm stuck in this expansion of particular because it just has to be this way. Like, whoa.
Yes.
And in my own energy, I was like, oh, that's just too much. How could somebody deal with that? But what I'm instantly going to go back to this moment of, again, Ada and I were chatting about this prior to figure out what does this mean? What does this mean for me? Is that my ability to expand the potential of a difficult subject to understand, something that's particular. The ability to expand the day to day task of just mundane life or a service of some kind. The ability to make something seemingly simple, super extravagant and exciting is definitely something that I love to do, is something that is an inherent energy as to how I live my life. Example. So, in the house that I live in, the dishes that I own, it's a very random explanation that I'm going to give, is I don't have ornate dishes, like say think of your grandmother's china, but I have these really they're smooth, they're pink plates. They're bright pink. As a kid I didn't really care about pink, but they're pink. So there's something cute about this normal thing. So they're not just a white plate. But my glasses in my house, now these are ornate. They were given to me by a family member and I have just two sets of main glasses. Like I don't have a lot in my house, don't really care. But I've got these like water goblets that are glass and like a beautiful deep blue. So I use those for water. And then for whatever else I want to like drink something in, I've got these like ornate, cool, almost champagne like if you picture a giant champagne tower and champagne's spewing out of everything, I've got glasses
Mm.
like that. And I just drink regular wine or my cider or my soda water with lemon. Like I jazz up the mundane life. That is the beautiful expression of Jupiter in Virgo for how I feel that that resonates for just that particular example in my day to day life.
That is gorgeous.
Hmm.
And the contrast between that and the stereotype of like the image that comes to mind for me when I think of the stereotype of Jupiter and Virgo is you have the unbreakable standard that you have in box zero and you get a new email in your inbox every 15 seconds.
And I'm just trying to clear out my email as
Yeah.
fast as I can keep up with the input. Oh, yeah.
hmm
Okay.
hmm hmm
I see that.
But the beautiful goblet and the precision and I love precision as a keyword for Virgo. The precision of being able to articulately tell us how you use your glasses and what you use them for and the aesthetics of it. You know, you have Venus in Virgo too, and I feel like what you talked about was that was Jupiter in Virgo. There's this abundance to it. Like not an abundance of glasses. Like I feel like when
Mm,
people talk about abundance in Jupiter, they just there's the tendency to think that it just means a lot of cheap shit. And you
mm,
were like, I don't have many glasses, but the glasses that I have are gorgeous. And like to me,
fire.
that is like the the quintessence of Venus and Jupiter conjunct in Virgo.
Yeah. Okay, now let's throw my IC in there to like wrap up
Yes.
this whole analogy. So these glasses were given to me by my aunt, my cousin's mother, and they were her mother's glasses when she was alive. So to draw in the family of origin of IC is where, we begin. It's at the bottom, the midheavens at the top. They happen to be given me after this family member's passing. So again, past relation to these glasses, like Venus, I see. Whoa, I didn't even see that moment of me also speaking about something that is beautiful, feminine. Whoa.
Yes. Uh-huh. And feminine roots, like
Yeah. Yo.
I feel like aunt is a well, no, I don't feel like I know this is something that Stephen Forrest talks about when he talks about Virgo in the sixth house. That they are both symbols that are associated with aunts and uncles and
Mm,
an inheritance from a an aunt and that sense of rootedness. And I know that you just moved house. And so
yeah.
like of course you're talking about this family heirloom that is like portable roots that you can
And it's
take with you
currently
anywhere.
cancer season.
Yes,
Like, we can make so many analogies about this, Ada. This is beautiful.
we're just
Uh,
diving down to the center of the earth.
we are. Now, I also don't want to lose the moment of which we have been speaking about Jupiter as a whole. I'm also speaking about collectively right now with the fact that it is in Gemini and it's in my third house, resonating with the vibes of Gemini. Communication, being able to expand communication of the mundane, of the simple, of the day to day life, the things that we need to expand us to help us feel better. Because Virgo is about, our body and taking care of ourselves as well.
Yes.
Uh, and because I feel like it's just such a collective theme, it has to be brought up. And because your analogy was amazing,
Yes.
is Jupiter currently in Gemini is squaring Saturn in Pisces. And I didn't think about it until you brought it up. So I'm purposely bringing it up back so we can talk about it because what you were saying was beautiful and it needs to be talked about. But the conversation around technology changing, Gemini is all about technology and communication as a nutshell. We're generalizing. And I'll draw in my moment of the fact that Gemini is in my 12th house, or Gemini is my 12th house, pardon me, because I am a Cancer rising. So, right now, the themes that Jupiter is bringing up for me while squaring Saturn and Pisces, while almost, I guess, in this moment, I'm trying to do particular math. It's not quite, it's past the squaring point of my own Jupiter. It's moved within its, it's going to get closer to its sextile moment. Not yet, but, it's getting there. But it's really forcing me to deal with my unconscious demons as to how I perceive myself on social media, how I perceive myself in the spoken word of how I am perceived on media, and how the world interprets that because the world is going through its own discipline of re-understanding what it thinks is truth. Saturn and Pisces, a Piscean moment of what is religion? What is the thing
Yes.
that I believe as a collective? Because it's also in Pisces. So, with all of that being said, there's another reason why I want to talk about Jupiter because it's such a deep topic right now, because it's going to affect us for the next couple of years. How, with me saying how it's affecting me with the Jupiter square, how is it affecting you, Ada? How does it feel in your personal narrative?
Oh gosh. Well, the this is where I think we're gonna start to get spicy because
Okay.
um right now Jupiter is exactly on top of my Mars. And one of the ways that Jupiter falls down is that it creates bubbles, and the bubbles get popped.
Mm.
And what is better than popping a bubble than a blade? And that's what Mars is. And so I have been in a position, especially the last few days, but ever since Jupiter went into Gemini, of being the person who pops the bubbles.
Mm.
And you're bringing up what we are rethinking about truth, and we were talking about this before we started recording. Um, but I think that social media is having one of those bubble popping moments. When Jupiter went into Gemini, I did some research on the history, and I noticed this pattern of a new information technology or communication system will arise when Jupiter is in Gemini, and everybody is super excited about it. And everybody's like, "Wow, this is going to take off." Um, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of them had, even the World Wide Web itself had incredible moments of um, coming on the scene or rapidly expanding or going public or reaching huge KPI milestones. Um, but at the next cycle, it's a time of testing. It's a time to find out whether or not um, the thing that exploded during the previous cycle has any kind of staying power. And so when Jupiter is in Gemini, we had the breakup of Ma Bell, the telephone company monopoly. We had the uh, the popping of the dot-com bubble, and we had this moment that we're in right now where I feel like a lot of people are really dissatisfied with the options for communicating with each other, the options for building relationships. And, on the one hand, being in my optimistic Leo ascendant side, there's a part of me that's like, what's rising now? What is
Mm.
going to speak to this moment and give us what we're hungry for? But there's another
Mm.
part of me that's like, all of those giants of social media that popped up and dominated the scene and really did a number on network television the last time around. They're up for an audit. They're up for a review. And this is coming in such an interesting time with Saturn in Pisces, especially since we're at the very end of Neptune's time in Pisces. And the Neptune and Jupiter are not the same, but they have some similarities. And one of the things that they do is they inflate in different ways. It's like Neptune's got spread, it's the ocean. Like it it kind of just flows over everything, whereas Jupiter is like the big strong man who you know physically takes up a lot of space, is really chunky. And
Mm.
so we've been going through this period ever since Neptune went into Pisces. I think it was in 2011. Interestingly, the last time Jupiter was in Gemini was 2012, so there's some similarity there. But ever
Yeah.
since Neptune
Oh.
went into Pisces, yeah, right? There's been
Hmm.
this expansion of spiritual awareness and you're in the human design space, Francis, and I'm an astrologer, and those disciplines and tarot, um meditation, all this stuff has just exploded. And we were talking about this in terms of ecosystems earlier, and whenever there's an abundance of something, you always get an abundance of the people or the creatures or the bacteria or whatever that eats it. So a tree goes into fruit. All of a sudden, every creature that eats apples descends on that, and then they expand and they reproduce because they've got a lot of food. And then the creatures that eat the apples, they can expand and reproduce. But when the abundance goes away, which is one of the things that Saturn does, there's a crash.
Yeah.
And we're at a moment, I think, where, you know, we're on the verge of a crash, but I think that we're hungry for a crash. I remember when the dot-com bubble popped. I remember how everyone was so sick of it. I
Hmm.
remember when the housing bubble crashed. I remember how everyone was so sick of it. And I
Yeah.
think that we're in this moment where, there's probably going to be a lot of focus on what's going away and what we're sick of. But this is the other side of Jupiter, right? Jupiter's faith. And I
Hmm.
really, I really, really, really want to just shout from the rooftops, okay, you're sick of that, but what are you hungry for?
Hmm.
And I think that that's the path forward. Because if we start listening to what we're hungry for, I think it will be a lot clearer who has been capitalizing on astrology and human design and tarot and spirituality being big, and who actually has substance. Who has the stuff that can actually feed you, and who's got the sugar.
Yeah. I knew exactly where you were going with that as soon as like I saw in your energy and hearing your tone of voice of being like, what's actually going to be here when all the food's gone, people? We need to actually be focusing on that as opposed to even in the moment of cancer season, not getting nostalgia on, oh, remember when this took off on Instagram and you could do that? Actually, no, we
Yes.
fucking hate that shit now. Who
Mhm.
cares about your reels? Who cares about blah, blah, you know? Let's not get
Yes.
all reminiscent on that shit. Yo, some spicy Jupiter over our Mars moments. Got to bring that up. It happened. It happened. Uh, of us getting really into it when we realized like, yo, this is it. Uh, this is bonkers that you also just relayed to me of like realizing that Gemini and Neptune had this moment before.
Yeah.
Now we're having this moment again as Neptune is literally within the next year about to exit Pisces and head into Aries, which that's going to be a whole
Mhm.
moment. Anyways, we're not going to go there yet. But that, we still have this dreamy quality of realizing all of these foundations that we've kind of come back to in spirituality. We've come back to these beautiful tools, astrology, spirituality that is rooted in essentially what I think the truth of spirituality and religion is trying to give a human mind context is that love is the only thing that matters. Let's just wrap all of that into a nugget.
Yeah.
And we're being toggled with this right now because of the square, because of this aspect that's trying to teach us. I try to reframe again my Jupiter in Virgo, reframe every, simple thing. It doesn't have to be that hard when, my mindset's in a healthy place because every human has their rabbit holes, which they go down.
Yes.
I like to call myself out in that moment because I'm just very much like whoever's potentially listening is that we can't stay focused on what happened. Let's stay focused on the tools that we've now been re-given, that we are all refining. And as literally Ada put it, who's actually using it in the brick and mortar way, which Saturn has tried to reteach on the foundation, to just use as a human in their day to day life, living the, in air quotes, mundane human experience, soul having a human experience, because that's all it really is, folks. To continue forwards in a time that feels so unstable. And Jupiter in Gemini definitely feels unstable in the mind, in our unconscious. So for me, like having it in my 12th house just feels like a bonkers moment. For you, it's in your 11th,
It is in Aquarius in my seventh house.
in your 7th. Sorry, I'm like completely backwards with seeing your
You
Leo
remembered the
rising.
relationships, though.
That, and that's where I think that was where it was going for me. But it's on, it's in your 7th house. Well, I was thinking because my Aquarius, yeah, anyways, sorry. That's me trying to be the astrology nerd in the moment, where being the human design nerd in the moment's a little bit easier for me. It's my humbleness is things I like
And
to dive deep in. Anyways, uh it's just making us reframe everything when we're already having to reframe everything,
yes,
to sum that all up.
mic drop.
Yeah. What else do I want to say? I feel like there's a moment where there's one more thing I have to say about Jupiter in Virgo and my moments with my Jupiter in Virgo, just for anybody listening that has that placement.
Spill.
It
Spill the tea.
spill the tea. It's the more that, I mean, that Ada and I have discussed it and that I've read different things about it, to just acquire my own opinion as well, as opposed to seeing it as this planet that is related to fire, which is expansive because it's Sagittarius's planet, to give those two a correlation in a moment, the faith, the teacher, is it gives me the ability to expand and teach my community, my mundane, in air quotes, my very particular things. It gives me enthusiasm about those things, which is very much me. Like, I love to talk about another like thing to draw on about my life this week. If anyone out there knows what the company Summer Fresh is, I actually think it potentially is only a company in Canada. I'm a Canadian, Ada is in the States. And Summer Fresh makes hummus and a bunch of other things. But they have this flavor that is dill pickle hummus.
What?
Yeah. And literally, all I have to do to describe it to people is, if people like dill pickle chips, I'm like, picture the chip flavor of dill pickle put into hummus. And like, I literally explain it with this much enthusiasm to whoever and I had a guest come over the other day. They'd never had it before. I was so excited. This is what Jupiter and Virgo is like. I get excited about hummus, and then I literally changes somebody's life for an afternoon. That shit's cool. That's what Jupiter and Virgo is for me.
As a
And I
person
really
with a Taurus sun who is getting hungry for lunch, that is probably the most beautiful metaphor I've ever heard.
I'm glad that resonated.
I
uh,
understand it at a
yeah.
visceral level, and I feel like that's something that we keep on coming back to, that I really want to highlight, which is the earthy quality of Virgo. Because I feel like when we talk about Virgo, and I am so bad at this myself, like I'm pointing all the fingers at me right now. I think Virgo, and I think databases and spreadsheets and inboxes, and maybe that's more
It's valid.
Gemini, and that's a mistake on my part, but there is an element of Virgo there, but there is also, it's an earth sign. And so
Mhm.
dishes, dill pickles, hummus. You are a personal trainer who has all of this body knowledge. Body wisdom is another keyword for Jupiter and Virgo. And I guess I think that that's maybe the last bit of Jupiter Jupiter wisdom that I want to leave us with, is that abundance in the physical world. And right now in those digital spaces, we're starving.
We are. And we're like trying to claim on to the life raft, the
Yes.
Neptune moment, last moment in Pisces of the life raft of I'm having this disillusion of I'm forgetting about the physical realm
Yes.
of how do I keep afloat in this digital space. Ada summed it up. That was the second mic drop. uh, yeah, because
Ah,
it's just a moment where we're grasping for air. Everyone is, regardless if you feel potentially out there, whoever listens, that people see or they have a really good relationship with whatever amount of technology they use in their life, from AI to an app to whatever, I'm trying to be super broad. But we're still clinging to what is the physical that's going to get me to the grocery store, to the
yes.
this, because we are human and we are not the construct of what we create in this virtual, physical, technological reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Virgo is one of the humane signs. Its symbol is a person. And I
Mm.
feel like that is such perfect wisdom and such necessary medicine that you as a person who carry that energy brings to that moment. That memory in every moment of the fact that you're human and the people that you're talking to are human, and that personhood and value for that in and faith in that. And it's one of the things that I'm really grateful for about you and the fact that I know you. So, one of the reasons we're doing this is because you are amazing. And I think that everybody who is interested in human design, especially the intersection of human design and physical health, needs to know who you are. So, if your words resonated for somebody, I want them to be able to find you. So, what how can they reach you? And of course, this is going to be on YouTube and all of your stuff is going to be in the description, blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
You can just message me if you don't understand it and I will connect you with Frances because she's that amazing. Um, but for people who are maybe listening to this in their car and they want to think about stuff that you offer, like how can they connect with you? How can they find you? What are you doing that they can maybe get excited about
So many things. Well, because we spoke about social media, I am on those things. I am on those things.
for now?
So for now, yeah, we'll see what Jupiter and Gemini gives us. Who knows? But I do my business name, besides Googling and finding my name, Frances, Young, Young. My business is entitled The Fearless Project.
Love
And
that.
thank you. Well before finding human design, I wanted to have a business name that was separate from my physical being because I felt that something of my nature was meant to be larger than my physical person personally with the name Frances. So created a separate entity. And essentially, I help humans feel fearless in whatever
Yes.
way and capacity they need, whether it's first on the physical training, stretching, and then we know that naturally turns into how do we think? So, our mental capacity within our brains, our geniuses, how we speak to ourselves, and our connection to our own spirituality. So, our health to me is more than just, physically being able to bicep curl things or reach into our cupboard and take out a plate. It is physical, mental, and spiritual, our health. And that's what I help people bring together with the Fearless Project. So on Instagram, if you look up the Fearless Project, LTD or limited, you will find me. And currently, we're in some website recalibration. Funny that is Jupiter and Gemini. So my website currently is still my name, FranceSyoung, followed by C as in cat, P as in Philip, T as in tiger, cpt.com. All the info's there. There are all kinds of links and things you can purchase and calendar links to book in with me, either through Instagram or website. And I also have a podcast. Ada's been on it now twice, and it's called This Fearless Life. And that's it for now. I live in Toronto, Canada. If you happen to be somebody that finds this in Toronto, I'm in Toronto. And that's it with regards to where you find me, what I'm up to right now. And yeah, trainer, human design expert, also professional, contemporary, and flamenco dancer. So we got a lot of things going on, even though to say my energy type, I am a generator. You would think I'm a manifesting generator, but I'm a generator. So that's me.
Amazing. And you also teach monthly workshops in the Narrative Astrology Lab. So
I
that
love them so much. Sorry. Now it's
I
Jupiter
love them
over
too.
Mars.
So that
I'll
is
let you
also
talk
an
about them.
accessible way to get on Zoom and hang out with Francis for an hour once a month. So there will be a link to the Narrative Astrology Lab in the description as well. Thank you so much for coming on my channel with me. And I really hope that people find you and are saved from this fuck up. I don't know.
It's like, how do we, sum up the where in our minds we can see that humanity is in an interesting place right now to give,
Yes.
you know, the moment. Ada and I feel it. Everyone in the lab feels it. We know that people in the world are feeling it. Another reason why we wanted to talk about Jupiter, because we're
Yes.
feeling it and it's expanding, and we just don't know when else more bubbles are going to start popping.
But we're so ready for it. We
We're so,
are.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Ada. It has been a pleasure. We know we could talk for hours, so
Oh
we
yeah.
won't let the world hear us forever.
And stopping recording.